Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. Looks like I'm slightly out of focus. Oh man. Let me see what's going on here. Okay. It is Monday, March 13th, 2023. What is wrong? And my camera's out of focus. So I have to kind of startle it, maybe. Get up close to it, scare it, see if it'll zoom back in. There we go. That looks better. Not that I look better, but at least the image looks better. This thing's been a little bit crooked since I put it on the new desk and trying to make it sit right and look right. Again, it's not helping my looks any, but at least you can see the shop in the background. Anyway, it is Monday, March 13th, 2023, and we are now in the midst of another temperature drop. I had such high hopes. I've been just hammering away at the Bronco, trying to get everything in primer, trying to get it ready to go in hopes that we would have good weather. With that said, I do have everything, I think everything but a few pieces, and they're small pieces, in primer. High build and 2K, epoxy and 2K high build. And, the nice part is these are new panels, so there shouldn't really be any issues. There were a few small issues with actually some small dents here and there. And, of course, the quarter panels on the Bronco had to be reworked to get those to look right. But overall, like here's the doors. These things, you can't even hear that. These things are smooth. And I will say that new gun that I bought, I've been spraying that, using that for everything. Like spraying the 2K or the high build, start over. Spraying the epoxy and the 2K. And man, big improvement. Big improvement. Not a big investment. That gun was not that expensive. But at this point, I am very happy with it. I'm looking forward to spraying the whole vehicle with it. I did run into a few issues. I don't have it out here. I have the tailgate in the back. When I opened that box that's sitting over there, I was expecting, I was hoping that it would be in EDP coating, the black EDP coating. I was hoping, and it didn't work out that way. I pulled it out of the box, and it was basically just raw metal. There was nothing. Just like they just put it together and stuffed it in a box. And so there was a bunch of, I don't even know what it was, discoloration on some of the pieces. There was still carbon from where they had, done the spot welds, a little bit of black soot, let's say. And I was like, man, why did they do this? But, I guess that's what they, when your name is on the box and it says, I think it's whatever it is, Dennis Carpenter, you can just do it that way and people will accept it. I guess that's how it goes. So I spent some time on that thing, cleaning up all of the edges, deburring it. There was a lot of sharp edges where when they had cut the metal, they had left little sharp edges, enough to cut your finger on. So I had to deburr all that stuff, and even where the cups were for the where the mounts go, there was metal on those. I had to clean all that up. So anyway, all that's in epoxy and high build, and things are looking pretty good. Now, again, temperatures are causing issues. It's chilly today. I don't know if we got over really 50 something today, 55 maybe, but current temperature is 41 degrees in the air. Oh, sorry, 51. So it's 51. But the temperature is going to drop overnight. We're going to have lows in the 30s for this whole week, and highs in the 50s, maybe 60s, a couple days. So just a struggle. Anyway, that's the update on what's going on right now with everything in the shop. So, again, welcome to the live stream. I know I have a good group of people that show up every week, and I appreciate all of them. And generally, if you're interested in something classic car wise, we ask you to ask the question. It doesn't matter what it is. If you have a question about something, go ahead and ask. And then if I can't answer it, I know I have a great group of people over there in the side box that generally have some information that they can share that helps out a ton. And we've answered a lot of questions on this thing, so I give bells to everybody who's helped out with that. Along with that, just a little reward system we have, like Pavlov's dog, right? You participate, you get a bell. If you show up, you get a bell. Hey, why not? You're here. So we might as well enjoy ourselves, right? Let's see who's first in tonight. At 6 o'clock, Terry Keithley checked in at 6 o'clock, 6:04. He says, hello all, and Barry, please hit the like and thumbs up for Barry. Thank you kindly. Yes. Thank you, Terry. See how that works? Awesome. Rick Gain checking in from New Jersey. Hello all. Supposed to snow here tomorrow in New Jersey. Thought we were done with this stuff. Yeah, I thought so too, but it's even getting cold in Georgia. Steve Grimes, hello from snowy southern PA. Yeah. Glad you're here, Steve. Nice little bell there. Mr. Mikey, howdy y'all. Cool and breezy 68 in South Texas. The Bronco is looking good. Thank you for that. The bell's a little sticky. And 68 sounds really nice. That would be great for spraying primer. Jerry checking in from the Money Pit, Middle Tennessee. Good evening. Click the like button for Barry. Yes. Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate that. Troy Justit, good evening from coastal Georgia. So much for the warm weather in Georgia. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, I feel like I can still get everything done. The problem I run into, and y'all know I'm so picky on these, well, just about everything I do, but I have to consider the idea that I could have a paint issue. I just have to consider that. And what does that mean? Well, if I spray paint and there's some sort of flaw that causes me to freak out and need to respray the whole thing, well, that screws up the whole timeline. So that's why I'm anxious about this process. I want to make sure that I get everything ready, and then good temperatures hit, boom. Try to get everything taken care of at the same time. And then, of course, I still have to spray the bed liner material on the inside of the vehicle and the engine bay. So that's a little added thing in there. But it's getting there. Robert checking in, also from Texas. Evening all. Robert has some he's got some good videos going on the on his coupe, putting in that CPP suspension. Some good information there. Roger checking in. Hindsight 6-7. Greetings from next door. Glad you're here, Raj. And Robert says, for your information, YouTube has added ads to live stream, so don't be surprised when one pops up. Okay. That's interesting. Had not seen that before. But hey, if an ad pops up, well, you know, I have no control over that, really. So thank you for that, Robert. The Dawn checking in. Greetings from upstate New York. Glad you're here. You know, as I'm doing this stuff and I'm working on the vehicle, like right now, there's still some fumes in the air. But another thing that is pretty common, I don't know, you can't see it very well, but there is dust on in here, but it's really a lot of pollen. We have pollen everywhere right now. Everything is just exploded with pollen. So it's a good thing the hood is green, because the pollen just blends right in. Anyway, Crash Rider. Greetings from Southern Indiana to everyone. Please hit the like button to show your appreciation and help the channel. Thank you, Crash Rider. Steve's Money Pit. Hey, anybody home? Yeah. Glad you're here. Charles, early. Wow, how'd that happen? Glad to see everyone. Perfect weather in Pensacola. It's probably because of the time change. And I can tell you this, I struggle with that time change. It doesn't matter if we're going forward or back. I struggle with it. I just have a hard time with it. Harvey, happy rainy Monday from New Jersey. Glad you're here, Harvey. I think, did you send me a message of some sort? I thought you did. Let me see what. Okay. So he says he sent a few pics. Let's see if those showed up. No, Harvey, I don't have those pics. So I guess you have to try send them again or something. But those didn't show up. But I'm glad you're here. Jeff Reynolds, long time no see. It has been a while. Howdy, Barry and everyone. It's been a while. Yeah, it has. Where you been? Where you been? Glad you're here. Here's another bell. We have Black Rain. peace. Give me a peace symbol and a smiley face. Okay, glad you're here. Jeff Barry, I'm going to make you an honorary Englishman if you complain any more about the weather. Oh, that's fine with me. Tally-ho. That's about as, I bet, probably about as good as I get with an English accent. Chris Greenaway popping in before another night shift. Well, glad you're here, Chris. Dave Conville checking in, also in New Jersey. Still just rain in North New Jersey. Good evening. Good evening, Dave. Glad you're here. Robert was almost 90 here Saturday. 50s to 70s, back to 50s the next 10 days. Way better than summer temps. Yeah, that's not helping me. I can tell you that. That's not helping me. Harvey says he'll try again. Okay, yeah, I don't know what's going on. Jerry sent me some pics. So we'll download a couple of those. Try to get those up. I know that I have to, anytime I do that, I've got to clear out some other pictures. Because I tend to forget about it after I've done this and deleting the things. So I end up always having a full queue sitting. So we're going to get, Jerry has sent me a couple pics. We're going to look at those real quick. So he says his engine is ready to go back in. So he's been, I don't know what all, I know he's had machine work done to that, and he's hoping for some pretty good numbers out of that 6-cylinder. And I hope he does get those good numbers. But yeah, it's ready to go back in. That's awesome. Way to go, Jerry. I hope the shoulder's doing well as well. Kane, snowy Monday in Indiana. Yeah, you can have that. No snow for me, thanks. Bob Shoemaker, good evening from very close to freezing Oklahoma. Nice weather for the spring breakers. Yeah, I don't even know. I don't know what the temperatures are expected to be, but yeah, glad you're here, Bob. You know what? Hold on a second. I'm going to open this door. I've got the heat on, but there's still fumes in here. I can feel it getting to my throat. So we're going to get some fresh air in here too. Robert, I've been told I'm taking too long to get videos out, getting some filler work done, so I can seam seal and 2K prime and paint the dash, etc. Should have a few to put up before I'm overseas. Well, that would be nice. I know that along with that, because I've been dealing with the temperature the way it is, I really haven't been filming much of anything. Well, I haven't filmed anything in this past week. I did put a video out on the Bauer SCT tool, and I really liked the way that did its job on the Mustang hood, but I have not filmed anything else. So probably, if I can, I'm going to put some sort of video together this week. It may just be an update style video just to show what I've been doing. Because when you focus on, it's one thing to do sheet metal work or cut and weld, and you can show that progress, but it's more difficult when you're trying to paint something, especially when you're trying to get a lot done in a short period of time. And the camera would just either get covered with overspray or it would be in the way, especially with the space that I have in the paint booth and the Bronco sitting in the paint booth while I'm working around it. So I just said, nope, I'm just not going to film any of that stuff because it's too cumbersome. It's too much of a hassle at this point. But I hope you get something out soon, Robert. Carl Lane, snow and rain in Hammondsport, New York. Hammondsport. Haven't heard of that place, but glad you're here. Mike Janos. Hey, Barry, are you experiencing any part delays in your area? Everything from my 67 coupe has been on back order for 9 months. Wow. I really haven't been dealing with parts too much. Charles is getting the parts for the Cobra Jet, and he's got most of everything at this point as far as like the floor pan and We've got frame rails and quarter skins and, cowl and that sort of thing. I know he's working on getting the sides because we have to deal with those as well. But I have not, I'm sure there is a delay. But, yeah, I wish there was an easy answer for that. But we all know it's nothing that we have any control over for sure. But glad you're here. If I didn't already give you a bell. Steve Willett. Hello, everyone. Hello, Steve. Hope all is well with you. Glad you're here. So as I was saying, with the Bronco and trying to get all that stuff taken care of, I actually went to see my PPG rep last week as well. And what's really nice about at least the PPG rep that I know, I've known him for, it's been a while. I've known him since 2005. Yeah, so like 17 years. And he, or 17, 18 years. Anyway, he is a wealth of knowledge. So whenever I have a question or I have a dilemma, I can ask him, and he does paint work himself on the side. So if I have a question or problem, I say, hey, what's going on here? What do I need to do? Or what's the best way to approach this? And so one of the things we're dealing with the Bronco is I had bought single stage Wimbledon white. And the reason for that was I was going to be painting the roll bar, the dash, and the door panels. And I felt like single stage would be a simple, easy way to take care of that. And it was. It did a good job on the roll bar. It did a good job on the door panels. I did a pretty good job on the dash, but I ended up with a little bit of a sag in one spot, which bugs me. And I'll have to fix that. But the thing is, the next thing it needs Wimbledon white, or next things, one of those is the centerpiece for the dash. The grill. Where the grill fingers, where the cutouts are. So the exterior will be painted green, and the interior will be painted with the white. And I thought, do I want to deal with single stage with base coat, clear coat? And my thoughts were, no. I don't think that's a good idea. Because if I have a problem, it becomes more complicated at that point. So what I did is I went and I bought another pint of Wimbledon white that I'm going to paint the grill, let's say, and then mask it. Well, I'll probably paint it white, honestly. Do that first. Mask it, and then paint the green. I think that's how it'll go. I think. And then clear coat the whole thing. So there won't be any tape lines, there won't be any seams, and it'll be a lot smoother. Of course, the challenge is going to be, I say the challenge, there's multiple challenges, but like when I do the Mustangs and I put on the extensions, the quarter panel extensions, I build those spacers intentionally so that there's a gap between the quarter and the extension, so when you spray the paint flows correctly. It goes across that opening and it sprays in the direction it should be on the extension. So I need to do a similar thing with the Bronco so that I can have that do the same flow. So it kind of complicates things a little bit because I need to get the green on and get the white on. So I might have to think this over a few times before I get the answer that I want. But the thing is, when I talk about stuff like that, I see pictures all the time on Facebook, Mustang restoration how-to, and various Mustang forums or pages that I follow, and I comment on occasion. And people will comment. I know Rick does a lot. He recommends my channel, my videos and stuff to people a lot of times. And there's a variety of people that recommend my stuff. And I have to hold back on some of the stuff that I see. I don't want to offend anybody or hurt their feelings, but I see these Mustangs and they'll have pictures of the car and say, "Oh, I got my paint done." And they've taped off the door openings and they've painted the quarter panel and the roof and the deck lid or whatever, and the extensions aren't on the car. And I understand where their approach is, but then they'll show another picture later And what they did is they laid that extension flat on a bench and sprayed it. And when you put that up against that quarter, you've got opposite flow of paint. And it just, to me, it just drives me crazy because that's the first thing I see when I look at those cars. I want to see that transition. I want to see the nice smooth pattern. And I know Roger's been with me, and I kind of I don't know how I should put this. I mess people up when they start looking at cars at car shows and stuff, because now they're focused on gaps, or they're focused on the paint, and they look at that and they go, "Oh, he didn't do that extension right. It was sitting on the table when he did it." And I said, "Yes," and that's a big deal. Now, if you're, especially with the metallics, if you have black, maybe not so much, but other colors with a metallic or some sort of heavy flake, whatever in it, it'll show up real quick and drives me crazy. So don't do that. Rick, can you shoot clear coat on top of single stage paint? You should be able to. I don't see why not. I mean, you have to scuff it real good. But yeah, you can shoot single stage or clear coat on top of single stage. That shouldn't be a problem. Jerry checking in. Good question, Rick, by the way. Jerry checking in. Howdy, Barry. Howdy, y'all. It's cold and snow east of Cleveland. And yes, Robert, you take too long. Yeah, I heard that there was a little tiny bit of snow east of Cleveland. But, you're in Cleveland, so there's not a lot to look forward to anyway. Jerry, the deck is decked 40 thousandths. The head is decked 10 thousandths. Mild cam with the power band 1500 to 4500 RPMs. Exceptions is double horsepower. Oh, expectations, I should say, is double horsepower and 410 foot-pounds of torque. Looking for the dyno results. I'm looking forward to that as well, Jerry. I want to see exactly what you get out of that. That would be really cool. Steve, you can spray Intercoat Clear on the white to extend the clear coat window, DBC 500, I think. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that could be an answer. Thank you, Steve. Pete, hey, Barry, how you doing? Talking along. Yeah, I am talking along. Glad you're here, Pete. And he has a 67 Mustang, I believe, that he's picked up now. Jerry, I look forward to going back to Texas. Yeah, I'll bet. Rick, time for my Klondike bar. And sorry, I do not have enough for everybody. Oh, well then, give me a break. Right? No, Kit Kats, give me a break. What's Klondike? What would you do for a Klondike bar? That's the thing. Pete, I have a question. Does the plastic fuel filter before or after fuel pump on the block? I mean, typically everybody's going to put it before the carburetor. So whether there's value in putting it somewhere in line before the fuel pump, you could do that. But most people will run it from the fuel pump, put the fuel filter in line to the carburetor. That's what most people do. Now, modern vehicles, they have the fuel pump in the gas tank, so the fuel filter is ahead of it. So it pumps the fuel, hits the fuel filter, then goes on up into the engine. So, go from the fuel pump, filter in between, go to the carburetor. That's the easy way to do it. Bob Shoemaker, some brands of single-stage paints require hardener in the color to be able to apply clear. That's a good point. I know the single-stage I sprayed had a hardener in it. Had to add hardener to it, I should say. But I'm just going to avoid, I think I'm just going to, I already know, I'm going to avoid all that. And I'm just going to use base on both. So it'll be Wimbledon white on the on either on top of green or green on top of white. One of the two. Pete says, you're right. Got a 73 and 67. Yes. And I like them both. Cool cars. Robert, mechanical fuel pumps don't like restrictions on the suction side. That's a valid point. Thank you for that, Robert. Pete says, thanks. You're welcome. Rick, plastic fuel filter before carburetor and after pump caused the fire in my engine bay. Well, that's not good. Um, and he says use a metal filter and fittings and a hard line. That's a good point. I mean, we're probably all guilty of it, getting away with that. I know I've done it for years and years and years, where I use the plastic filter and the rubber hoses. But what I have done as a precaution, I think I have pictures. This is one idea that I had when I did that 71 or 72, whatever it was, Chevelle SS. I had it in here, just doing mechanical work on it, and I have pictures of it probably on Facebook. What I did, I took a piece of exhaust pipe, and how did I do that? The exhaust pipe fit around um, the plastic filter because it was tapered, right? So I took that piece of exhaust pipe, and if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure I did it. I think I cut it and I rolled it into itself and welded it back together. I think. I know I made a carrier basically for the fuel filter, and I think that I did that where I tapered it down, and I also cut windows in the sides so you could see it. So what I did is I made a bracket that held the fuel filter, and then the hoses went on either end, and it just made it rigid. Now maybe it's a little carried away, maybe I don't know, but having a metal filter is a good idea. I like to be able to see what's going on in that filter at times too. So, but it's good advice, Rick. Thank you, Pete. There's a little metal, I guess, filter right before the carburetor, but I see all these guys do it. Yes, yeah, there is. Yeah. I mean, you can do it. I would say if it's got the filter in there and it's functioning, maybe don't mess with it. Leave it alone. Just saying. I mean, you can swap it out. They do sell also. I don't know how good they are. Spectrum, I think, is what it was. Is it Spectrum? Spectre, something like that. They have the glass ones where it's like actual glass. It has metal ends on it, and real O-ring gaskets, and you tighten it against itself, and you can put the hoses on there. So that's another thing you can do. But at this point, if it's operating, I don't know that I'd mess with it. Just saying. Now I had another thought going on. Let me get back up to where, if I can remember what I had something going in the back of my head, and then I lost it. Let's see. So Pete says it's also for seeing the fuel go in. I think for all those guys. Yeah, that's what I was saying before. Having that fuel, you could see the fuel movement. So not a bad thing. Gosh, there was something else I was going to mention here. No, I lost it. Oh, I had somebody contact me on Facebook, and they had a question. See if I can bring it up again. This guy was asking me about a measurement from the shock tower to the front of the frame rail on these Mustangs. And the reason being, he had bought new assembled frame rails with shock towers and aprons already on it. Put them in a car, and apparently welded these things in because they were good to go, brand new. And there's a half-inch difference. He said he went to put the fender on, and all the fender holes on one side were off a half inch. And so he started looking at it like, wait a minute, why is that off? What's going on? And anyway, so we started looking that over, and I just, as a quick measurement, I measured the Mach 1, and I got a measurement from the inside of the shock tower, let's say at the front where the battery sits, to the forward face or forward flange of the front of the frame rail. Not all the way to the front, but where it like squares off. Anyway, I ended up with 18 inches on the Mach 1. He ended up with 18 on one side and 17 and a half on the other. So I want to point that out because, we all talk about it. You get these aftermarket parts and, yeah, they're supposed to fit, right? Okay, we get that. They're supposed to fit. And then they don't. But you think, you would hope that something like those assemblies, where it's got the frame rail, the shock tower, the apron, you would hope that's on some sort of a jig system. And they go, okay, here's where it sits. So, anyway, pay attention to that stuff. Take your measurements. Make sure you've got what you're supposed to have. Because if it's off and you do something like he did and he put it all together, now he's in trouble. He's going to have to cut something loose and rearrange everything. And that's not fun. So he has to see what he has to, what he's going to have to do to fix that. Robert says, I have seen guys have to cut apart those assembled frame rail, fender apron, shock towers. That's exactly probably what he's going to have to do. And it's unfortunate. Now, we have, Charles supplied me with a couple of assemblies like that. And so I did some quick measuring. They match each other. These are the same, they show the same length or location of the shock towers, which is good. But we have to look at how we're going to handle the whole process, what we're going to be using or not using in this process. But these are the same, distance-wise. So the other thing he's asking, I'm probably going to have to update some of the measurements because he was even pointing out, like he had sent me some pictures with with what he's trying to measure, and so I'm going to try to reference that for him and try to help him out as much as I can. But man, that's just not cool, especially when you buy something and you think, oh, here it is, we're ready to go, boom. Rick, so China can reproduce metal, but I guess they've never seen a frame jig. Well, you would hope that they've got some sort of jig system. You would hope. I know, as I mentioned before, on the Mach 1 floor pan, there's still a couple little areas that are not dead on based on the jig that I built that matches the car. So it's just a little bit of variance. I don't think it's going to hurt anything. It's just an identifying factor saying, look, this could be this way just a little bit, and this could be this way just a little bit. But it is what it is. It's not going to affect the outcome. It's still going to be, it's still going to fit the car, and it's still going to line up and do what it's supposed to do. But I'm wondering, whenever they do these things, one, do they use a proper jig? I don't know. And two, once it's built, what happens to it after that? I know they put them in a crate, they ship them. Like in this case, Charles told me he went to pick this floor pan up, and it was either sitting on top of another floor pan exposed, or the other one was sitting on top of it. I don't remember. And at that point, you're like, well, what, did that do something? Did they mishandle the part, And then you're like, oh. Again, we all know. Half the time, you're just reworking everything anyway. Steve, I know CJ Pony export brace is made to factory specs. That's a good thing. That's a good thing because we have one of those, and that will be put to use. Robert, the good export brace that Steve mentioned is a great way to locate the tops of the shock towers. Yes. Yeah, and that's going to come in very handy. Yeah. The thing is, of course, there's going to be a lot of pieces cut off of this car, so I have to make sure I get things back where they need to be so I can justify where that export brace mounts, I don't see that being a problem because I'm just really kind of picky about this stuff. Brian B, late to the party today. Good to see everyone. Glad to hear, Brian. Denny Alvey, Good evening. Hey, Barry. Good evening. I usually use a Monte Carlo bar and an export brace along with measurements for the shock towers and aprons. That's a good idea. That is a good idea. Yeah, the Monte Carlo bar is handy for that. For that purpose. Yeah, and I'll do some measuring between the. I mean, I'll do measuring before I cut anything out. Make sure things are where they should be. And cross-reference everything. Pete, why is Ford not stepping on making the old Mustang car pieces again? Why are they not stepping up? That's a great question, and I think they don't care. I mean, really, because they can sell the licensing or whatever to these other companies and say you run with it and deal with it. And all the original tooling is gone, so they really can't. I say they can't. There's probably some drawings that Ford has stashed away somewhere to make the tooling, honestly, but they don't care. They're not going to invest in it. Not going to invest. Mike, do you think there are any modern Mustangs that people will restore in the future? Well, that's a tough question because at this point, when you say modern Mustangs, you have to define what we consider the modern era. If a car in Georgia is over 25 years old, they consider it an antique, basically, and you don't have to have emissions on it anymore or anything like that. So, when you say modern era, would you say in the last 10, 15, 20 years, or do we go back into the 90s? Because that's been a big push right now. All the Fox body cars that people are buying and rebuilding. That's becoming really popular. I know several people who have those. I don't know, 80. I don't know what years are best. 88 to 96 or something, or 94. I don't even know what the numbers are, but they're spending money on those things and they're putting them back together and making them look really sharp. But it's. I mean, I see that happening now. The later stuff, I don't know about restore so much, but I think there'll be people that put them away. They'll preserve them more, I think. But that'll be like the special editions, the Shelbys, the GT500s and Mach 1s, whatever. They'll probably try to keep those cars together and keep them put aside. But I don't know for sure on whether they'll be restored, because it's a whole different world right now with these cars. They're built more disposable overall. I mean, they're built to be, you get in a wreck and they collapse and crush to protect the occupant, and so if they get crushed up, they just scrap the thing. They don't have the same appeal, I think, as these old cars where it gets in a wreck and you're willing to cut it in half to try to put it back together. So just some thoughts on that. Rick Stevenson, hey, I'm here. Sorry I'm late. Glad you're here, Rick. Always got coffee going. There's the bell for Rick. Brian says, help erratic. What's erratic? What's erratic? Oh, Brian. Oh, there we go. There's more to it. He says, help erratic idle on my 4.0 Ford 96. I don't believe it is the idle air valve. Any ideas? Ooh. No. Fuel pump? Fuel filter? I don't know. Anybody have any answers for Brian? I don't have an answer for that. Water in the gas? Dry. Put in the gasoline antifreeze stuff? I don't know. I don't have a good answer. Robert, the sheet metal tooling was given back to Ford when the company using it got out of it since it wasn't profitable. Oh. Okay. Well, I assumed all the tooling was gone. I assumed. But I don't know. Denny, hey Bear, I scored the Lenco spot water from last Wednesday for $60 and it works. These are useful in specific applications. Well, that's a good score. Good for you. That is a good score. Robert, Ford does have a lot of the drawings for parts still. My uncle was a tool and die, I guess, maker in Detroit and made the new die for the 65 to 66 tail light lenses that carry the Famoco branding. That was late 90s. Oh, wow. See, that's the thing. If you could, I don't know what it would take to get a hold of that stuff, I don't know. Robert says the die was made for Ford. Then they basically rent it out to companies that want to use it to make parts. Yeah. Well, I think the big push is obviously we need to have the sheet metal stuff more than anything at this point. You know what? I gotta look here because I know that Harvey says he sent me something, but there's nothing. There's nothing showing up, Harvey. There's nothing showing up. So I'm going to send you an email back so that you have my correct email. I think. I don't know if that worked or not. Anyway. Yeah, I know Harvey said he was going to send me something, but it didn't show up. So we'll have to wait and see if he can follow up. Who else was I wanting to mention here? I know we have some people showing up that haven't been here in a while. So I need to find out what's going on with Jeff. We haven't heard from you in a while, Jeff. So you need to give us an update. What's going on over there? You need to tell us what kind of movies you're watching right now. I think there's speaking of that, I saw a preview for, I don't know what the name of the movie is, but I think it's got a 67 coupe in it now. There's a red 67 coupe. I think it's Aubrey Plaza is going to be in this movie, and they show her like putting her hand out the window and shooting a gun at somebody or something. So they're still making these movies with classic Mustangs. So we've got to figure out what that one is and get a look at it as well. See if it's worth watching or not. But the other thing we have going on, I know that I've talked about the Bronco earlier and trying to get all these parts taken care of. And, of course, the Cobra Jet. Now, this week, what I need to do, since the temperatures are dropping, is I am going to have to try to get all these panels sanded and ready to go. Because when the weather does get nice, it needs to be set. So the really nice part about it, like these doors, they're smooth and ready to go. The fenders, I still have a little bit to do on top where I'd cut the pieces and spread it apart to make it match the grill. I'm going to add a little bit of filler to that. I noticed when I sprayed primer on the quarters, there's a couple little spots that need to be addressed. Same way with the grill. I had put filler on to try to take care of the tooling marks. And I think I got all that out of it, but there's still just a couple little shy areas for the filler on that. And then, I used that a couple different seam sealers. I know somebody asked me last week about this, I think. And I'd use this Eastwood High Solids seam sealer, and that was for, the problem I had is I'd use this on something else, and the nozzle was gummed up, so I had to cut it off. But I used it on all the interior panels on the Bronco, and on the outside seams, I had taped it, put some narrow spacing on the tape, and put the sealer on, and then taken a glove and just ran my glove down, and that worked, but it pushed it in. It was a little bit deep as far as I was concerned. Like whenever you have the gap between the panels, I want that seam sealer to be a little recessed, but not like something you could, I don't know, stick a putty knife into and feel it go deep into it. So I used this to start the process, and then I came back with, let me show you this other material. I got some SEM gray seam sealer, And this stuff is, well, it says direct to metal and paintable immediately. I don't think I've ever seen a sealer say that, paintable immediately. So I I mean I put it on and it cured really fast. We'll put it that way, really fast. Um, the other thing I had made sure, I know I talked about this before, but I want to show you again. This is that paint gun that I mentioned, the Elite Pro 88 that I got off of Amazon. I'm really happy with this gun. Really happy because I'd used the Harbor Freight Black Widow guns before, and they worked fine. They worked fine, but this one doesn't have any O-rings, is what it says specifically on the box, and I like that idea because I had an O-ring problem with the Black Widow, and you can't buy parts for that. So with no O-rings in this, to me that's a big plus. But like I was saying, I know you probably can't hear this, but if I run my hand across this, there's like no texture there. This thing is really smooth. Now, part of that is, of course, the using reducer, with the primers, but also the way the gun sprayed. So at this point, I'm really happy with this gun. So if you're thinking about one of these, they're out there. They have them on Amazon. I think it was like $220 or something. I think is what it come out to. And the other thing that I have been using, if you haven't tried this stuff, if you're doing any kind of paint work and you want to clean up, this 3M high power spray gun cleaner, man, this stuff does a number. This stuff, and I'll be honest, I actually found this cheaper. I don't know if they still have it, but they had this at Harbor Freight. And it was cheaper than the whatever. Cheaper than what was at the paint store. I have not looked on Amazon or anything for this, but that 26689, this stuff is fantastic for cleaning a gun because it gets into all the little spaces. You can spray like lacquer thinner in with a bottle like I normally do. Take a brush and go inside and all that sort of thing. But when you can take some pressurized fluid and push it in there, boy, does it clean it nice. So keep that in mind if you're looking for those sort of things. So let's see. Michael Pagliarini, check for vacuum leak, talking about the 96 Ford problem. So thank you for that. Glad you're here. Brian, I was able to obtain factory drawing with specs for the shock towers on my Fairlane from the car club. I am sure they must be available for a Mustang, one would think. I would think so. New River, I once had to separate a pair of Dynacorn rocker panel assemblies and rearrange them into their proper alignment. Not surprised. And Robert, I want one of those spray guns. I use a white version of that seam sealer, and it sets up fast and smells worse than the paint. Yeah. It is pretty potent. And Robert, when Harbor Freight does the 30% off coupon sales, I buy a few of those cans of cleaner, but I have been known to clean the outsides with brake cleaner. Okay. I have not tried that. I don't know that I want to try that, but I'll take your word for it. That's the thing. Like using this stuff, you can look at this container, right? I went through a lot of gloves putting this stuff on because I could not push it out of the gun properly. All I could do is kind of go over top of the seam and spooge it on there and then take my finger and run it over. But I went through a lot of gloves because there's just no way around it. So make sure you have gloves on hand. Literally, on hand. The other thing, oh, yeah. I got these in today. Um, what was funny is I talked to my paint rep, and if he tells me something, I trust him on it. And so he was telling me that whenever he uses some of the reducers he uses, let's see if I can I don't know if I can get this open. I don't want to hurt myself trying to cut it open. But anyway, he was, you think they recommend the typically the PPG products, right? And that's good. But they're kind of a PPG store, but they also do some like independent sales, I guess. So as we were talking, I was asking him some questions about the reducers, and he this stuff's on the shelf in their store, and he said use this product. He said it flows better than the PPG, and that was some of this HET from Grow Automotive. So I got some of this, and I expect that it's going to do a good job. But anyway, I don't know if anybody's ever tried this, but it works really well. From what he tells me, I have not used that directly just yet, but he has told me it works well. The Dawn, hi Barry. I think the movie is Operation Fortune, Ruse de Guerre with Aubrey Plaza and the 66. Okay, I thought it was a 67, but if it's a 66, I believe you. So what is that on? Operation Fortune. Do you know what series that's in? Is that on Amazon, or does it matter? Is it going to be worth watching? That's a big question. But thank you for that, Dawn. Richard, I use a $25 old school cup gun, and high dollars not mean better. I can lay down a smooth coat with a good gun, or a cheap one. It's all about control in more ways than one. Practice. Yes. That's a good thing. Yeah. I know, like, I was happy because I can tell you, I've said it before, I've used these generic HVLP guns for years. These were, and you talk about $25 guns, that's basically what these are. I've used these, and they've done a really nice job. They really have. And it's it's not much different than what I have right now. But things also wear out on these as well. There's things that can wear out. So like said before, I bought these years ago. There was 3 guns in the kit. I paid $100 for 2 of these guns and a touch-up gun, and I used them a lot, and I liked them. And I think like the purple was the primer gun. I knew that much, and this was the regular paint gun. So then I'd bought the Black Widow guns, thinking, well, it's a nicer gun. It should be, nicer result. And it was, but then I ran into a problem with the O-ring. And so I was like, this O-ring, it failed, and I can't buy a new O-ring. So that's why I went with that other gun. And to me, that's, the gun was $220, and it came with three different needles with it. Now, one of those I probably won't use. It's got a 1.3, a 1.4, and a 1.8. 1.8 is huge, so I doubt I'll be using that one at all. But I really like the way it sprays. I really like the results of it. Steve, a few weeks ago you mentioned your lift is one of your must-use tools. I just picked up the Max Jacks MK6 4-foot. Say 4-foot 2-post lift. So I'm assuming, does that mean it lifts 4 feet? I'm assuming. I don't know. But yeah, that's I have not heard of them, so I don't. That's a good thing though. I'm glad you got a lift. Rick Stevenson, what would you recommend for a decent clear coat gun? that's a good question. I may end up using that same gun. Honestly, I may use that for everything. I do have. I can't point at any particular gun. Now, I will say this: I do have a DeVilbiss. That this gun is. This is a gun that we used at the body shop. Okay, and I talked about this before. This is a DeVilbiss Plus, and I've used this to spray clear coat on everything. That's all I used it for, was clear coat. And I don't remember. We had talked about this before. Like, it doesn't say what size the tip is. It says it's a number 410. That's what it says on top. And then on the bottom it says DeVilbiss K3. But this is all I've used for clear coat. I think I did try to spray with the Black Widow's clear coat, and I didn't like that as much. But I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to use this again or if I'm going to use that other Pro 88 gun and see how it does. And Richard, does not matter for clear or base. Try different tips if you like, but once again, it's about control, not the gun. Thank you, Richard. Yep. It's nice to have options, though. It is. I know that. I mean, they try to sell you all these different things, and I'm not going to go out and spend $1,000 on a gun. I know that much. But if I have a few guns that I can pick from that I like, it's all good for me. But I get what you're saying. I do. Ray Buckman just watched the trailer for a movie. Nice red coupe. 66 movie looks good. See, we have to know what the what it's on, though. What form? What is it on? Like Amazon Prime? Is it on Netflix or who knows what? You have to let us know what that is. Because I don't remember. I know I saw the preview, but I don't remember where I saw it. So I have to kind of find out. See if it's worth watching. Because sometimes, it's, so he says it's on Amazon Prime. Okay. Does it say when it comes out? Or are they just showing the trailers right now? But anyway, let me see if Harvey ever got those pictures. No, those pictures did not show up. Okay. Oh, so he says it's not showing when it's coming on. Okay. There's not a whole lot else that I have to talk about, to be honest. I mean, I like to come on here and try to answer questions and interact and whatever. But I don't have a whole lot to discuss today. So if you have any questions on anything, or if you want to join the stream, we have time. You can join. As long as you have access to I think you can do it with your phone if you want to. But we'll see. I don't know what Robert's doing right now, if he's interested in being on the stream or not. So if anybody has any questions or thoughts or ideas, by all means, shoot them at me. Yeah. I know that, what was it? There was, I have not gone to look at that 69 that was offered to me yet. Partly because I don't have any place to put the thing. I know I talked about it a few weeks back, that there's a 69, it's not a Mach 1, it's a sport roof, that if I get the chance, I may buy it, but the problem is I don't have any place to put the thing. That's the biggest problem I have right now. Richard, by the way, just throwing my 2 cents in, you do fine paint work. Well, thank you, Richard. I appreciate that very much. I know that, and I'm not trying to make it sound odd, but I don't like to paint. I don't like to paint. I've said that before. I'd rather be welding, grinding, cutting, all that stuff. But yeah, I just I don't like the paint. It just it stresses me out. But I appreciate it. Ray, have you taken the old floor out of the Mustang? I have not. And partly because I've been focused so much on the Bronco and trying to get all that stuff in primer so it's ready to go. Because when good weather hits, I have to take care of it. Now, I also will point out one of the thoughts that I'm having on the Bronco is, and this is going to have to happen this way. The vehicle sits pretty high, and adding primer and everything is fine. But when it comes to paint, I'm going to have to paint the windshield frame and the cowl by itself. Like what I'll probably do is have the hood ready to go, have it in the paint booth, and get ready to paint, put color on it, and then I'm going to paint the windshield frame and the cowl at the same time and mask off everything else. I'll put plastic over everything. And the reason for that is when I put the doors and the fenders on, it's going to be hard to get up there to spray that windshield frame. And I don't want to run the risk of leaning over or touching the quarters or the fenders, the doors. I'm not going to do that. And the nice thing is the doors will swing open as well. So I have all that room that I could paint the inside of the doors all at the same time, not worry about it. But I have to be really careful with how I'm doing this. So I'm going to do those parts first. I'm going to paint the hood by itself, get it out of there, and then I can do everything else. You may, if anybody's seen the pictures on Facebook, like I built a stand, or I modified a stand that I had, so that I can paint the tailgate vertically as well. So it can sit, when I get the fender or get the hood back out, then I can have the tailgate sitting in the booth, because I don't want to sit there. You don't want to have the tailgate mounted and open it and spray the jams and then close it. I don't want to do any of that. So the tailgate's going to be mounted straight up and down on that stand, and then I can spray it and not worry about it. So just some of the processes. Robert says, can if no one else wants to, just need to head to the shop. Well, that's up to you. If you want to do that, that's fine. Let's see. Jerry says, Robert, get out of the chair and get with Barry. Phil, paint supplies are getting expensive. Do you agree? Yes, very much so. I bought that pint of Wimbledon white and a gallon of, where did I put that receipt? And the gallon of the thinner, the reducer, and it was, gosh, where did I put it? I got papers all over the place. It was like $140 or something. It was really high. I don't know. It's in here somewhere. Oh, I'm sorry. It was, yeah. That's not it. You can see how organized I am with papers. It was $120. And that was for a gallon of the reducer and a pint of Wimbledon white. So, yeah, prices are up there. Doyle, have you heard from and about the Camaro parts? I have not. I think that's completely dead in the water at this point. I'm just gonna have to go get them myself, which is fine. I have time because once I get get the Bronco painted, I'll get back on the Mach 1 and get as much metal work as I can done on it, obviously. And I'll probably take a day and run up to AMD and just buy those parts. I do have a friend who can get me he can still get me a discount on that stuff, so I'll at least use a discount, buy those parts, and have them here so that I can knock out the Camaro. But that's a good question, Doyle. Thank you. Ray says everything is getting expensive. Yes, that is very much accurate. And now we're having all the banks starting to go down, right? Not a good sign. Mr. Mikey, I agree with Richard. Don't sell yourself short. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I just stress out over paint. I really do. Nick says hello. Hello, Nick. Glad you're here. Sorry, Nick. Get about. Brian, here's the subject. I've been leaving my parts car uncovered outside the last 2 years as I found the tarps I was using just held in moisture. That's probably not a bad idea, honestly. I do have tarps on 3 vehicles sitting outside right now, and I probably the one is the blue Mustang and the blue or the Camaro, but I don't have them like tucked up tight. I have them to where air can get underneath there. But yeah, that can be an issue for sure. Definitely can be an issue. Ray, that's a pretty good idea, Barry. Probably a good idea. You're talking about the cowl and the windshield. Yeah, I think so too, because it's really just not worth the chance of an error. That's what I see, is messing up that the paint on the fender and the door. So, really don't want that to happen. So I'm going to send Robert an invite, and we'll see what he's up to out in the shop. Michael Pagliarini, I used SEM 45504 to coat the inside of my frame rails. Nice product. Okay. Thank you for that. Brian, also 76 watching, only 40 likes. Come on, guys. Yeah. Yep. Richard, especially for Metal Flake, always lay or hang the part like they sit on the car. Yes. Can't stress that enough. That's what I was saying before about the extensions on Mustangs. When I see somebody paint a quarter panel and they don't have the extension sitting there or spaced out like I like to use and make that flow continue on. Next thing you know, they're sitting on a bench and they're laying it flat. They put paint on it, then you put it up against the car, and it's totally different. Just makes a mess of things. Rick, I saw the jig you built to paint the tailgate. Ingenious. Thank you, Rick. Appreciate that. Doyle, do you recommend self-leveling seam sealer for drip rails? That is probably a good idea. I know I have used brushable seam sealer before, and basically used my pinky in a glove and run it down, and that works. I don't know how well. I've not tried the self-leveling in the rain gutter, and my problem with that is it is self-leveling, so it's meant to level, right? I have not tried it with picturing the angles, meaning is it just going to run till it finds a level spot, like a flat spot? I don't know. So I can't say for sure how that's going to function in the rain gutter, but it should work, but I have not tried it. Good question. Richard, the flakes always lay down according to gravity, and I have seen doors for a truck hung upside down, and they stood out once mounted. Looked way more silver, and the flakes were blue on silver and black. You know what? I know exactly what you're talking about, and I ran into a problem. I had a 79 Chevy Malibu. Roger helped me with it. And that was the first thing that we ever tried to paint in this space. I see you there, Robert. I see you. So, not really thinking about it at the time. This is before I had any experience. I had the doors off the car, and I laid them flat. And we sprayed the car and put the doors on the car, and it looked bad. It just looked bad, and I really was disheartened at that point. But I learned a valuable lesson. It was a blue. It was like a Mazda blue or something. It was a pretty color, but man, it just didn't work out. Ray Buckman, things are really close to failing all over. The banks failing didn't help any. You are absolutely right about that. You're right about that. I'm gonna bring Robert on and continue to. Oh, where'd he go? Robert.
Well, I'm here.
You're not on the screen though.
I'm
here.
There
you are. Okay. All right.
You were talking about somebody was asking about paint prices.
You're staggered. I don't know
It's
what's
just
going on. Yeah, I'm going to have to pull you off for a second. I don't know what's going on. You're like sketchy. Hold on a second, Rob. You're skipping on me. I don't know if you can hear me or not, but you're skipping. I don't know if your Wi-Fi is messed up. I'll give you a second. Okay. So Dennis, Hello Bear and Gang. Hope everyone's well. The Broncos look good, and the new sander you showed a few days ago looks interesting. Yes. Thank you, Dennis. Sorry. Yeah, I see you, Robert, but you're all jittery. You look like Max Headroom in there. Richard, even so-called breathable car covers hold in moisture brine. Yeah. Denny Alvey, filler is also expensive. Rage is crazy high. What is everyone using? I'm still going to stick with Rage. That's what I'm going to use. Ron Walker, hello, Ron. Glad you're here. Yeah, Robert, I don't know what's going on. You're like doing the Max Headroom thing. Ray Buckman is the same color going into the engine bay. No, it's going to be black in the engine bay, but it's going to be the U-pole sprayable bedliner material in the whole engine bay. So that's the plan for that. Dave Britton checking in. Hello all. Glad you're here, Dave. And we have Tall Red Easel. Sorry I'm late. Glad you're here. Appreciate that so much. Thank you. Charles, for the CJ Pony parts buyers, do you see a difference between standard and CJ Classics? The quarters I bought, we were not impressed with. The rear lower drops and such drops in so much as the lower forming. And what he's talking about is the transition where the quarter comes down on all these Mustangs. It actually comes down and it's supposed to go back up and then flatten out and come back down. It's supposed to create like a ledge, like inside of the quarter at the bottom. The CJ Classic ones don't do that. They're like just smooth. So we don't know if that's if they're supposed to be Dynacorn, like made by Dynacorn, but I don't know for sure. So that's what we're seeing. Is it doesn't have that nice the bump inside. I see you, Robert. Okay, now you're looking like you're moving around. Okay, we're gonna check you out in a minute. Roger says the Malibu was a nightmare. Yeah, unfortunately, it was a problem. Okay, so I'm gonna bring Robert back up.
I figured out what the problem is. It's this computer.
Oh, well, you're here.
It's just getting old and slow, kind of like all of us are.
What you were saying about paint?
Yeah, talking about the cost of materials and stuff is like, okay, $35 for a quart of Duraglass for the lead stuff, and that's from the place in Oklahoma. I like that paint store. You go in there, and there's everything you need is out on shelves, and the really cool thing is everything has a price written on it. There's none of this. How much is this? How much is that? You don't have that stuff to deal with. I actually got all the paint over there. It's got all the stuff written on there, how much it was.
Right.
But I got a gallon of paint for the dash and the interior and all that. And I got a gallon of that. I got that there. Some 2K primer, a bunch of other stuff. So that was still, 200 something bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous what it is anymore.
So the Duraglass you're talking about doing for the lead seam with the roof,
yeah,
and the quarter. Okay.
Yeah, you do that, and then just do the regular filler to smooth it out over top of that to make it same.
Right.
The Duraglass has a little, the little prickly stuff
Sure.
sticking out of it if you.
Yeah.
So I won't go. I'll sand it in, further than I normally would, and then go with a regular filler, just the skin coat over top.
I always make sure that I scuff that metal up really good. Make it 60 grit.
Yeah.
With a sanding disc.
Yep. Yep,
Hey, Nick's got a
I got lots of those.
Nick has a question here. He says, "Is there a standard pedal height for classic Mustangs? Everything I have is adjustable. I'd like to see what stock is like and go from there because I can't make my mind up on where I want them to sit." Um, I mean, there probably is. I don't know. I can't say if it's 6 or 7 inches off the floor. I don't know. I mean, I haven't.
Almost touching your knees. That's where it is for me.
I, normally, I think, yeah. Whenever I look at pedals like that, it almost feels like your vertical shaft or post needs to be vertical.
Hmm.
That's the way I see it. Like you wouldn't want it angled up because then it creates a longer stroke and you've got a lot more push. But if
Hmm.
I would start off with the action shaft being vertical and see how that looks, and then adjust from there to what you feel like you need. That's just the way I look at it.
It depends how long your legs are too.
Well, that's true too. I have a friend who's 6'3" from the waist up, but he's 5'10" from the waist down. He's got little legs. Let's see. Harvey used Eastwood 2-part self-leveling on my drip rails on Tina. Very good product. Watch the videos. You mask under the drip rails and build a dam on the end downhill slope. Very short dry time. Okay. Thank you for that. I mean, because I had never tried that before. Have you tried that, Robert? The
Uh,
self-leveling stuff?
I did that. I don't remember which one. I don't remember which one I used exactly. It's been too long, but it was one of the 2-part ones like that. That yeah, I've got this the funny red caulking gun, that's got the two
Yeah.
plungers on it, and I used that on the El Camino when I did that, the drip rails and that. It worked. I remember doing it, but I don't remember how. I just
Yeah.
know I did it.
Yeah.
you know.
Well, like I said, I've not tried it because I was worried about it running down out of the rain gutter itself,
Yeah.
and leaving a. But apparently, Harvey says it works good. 2-part self-leveling.
Yeah, and that 2-part stuff sets up, a little quicker than the
Yeah.
1-part stuff, and it's better stuff.
Yeah, it is. Crasher, I'm curious about the Bauer. I think you mean SCT, right? Surface
Yeah,
conditioning tool.
yeah.
Does on rust removal, will you be showing that process when repairing the hood? Yeah, I'm going to show probably stripping out the rest of the hood, at least the top side. Robert, I know you've used yours on the bottom of the car and everywhere.
Hmm.
How did it work on rust?
It works pretty good, but the black wheel, because it's not a solid wheel. There's a lot of air in it,
Yeah,
so it does it. It just takes a little longer sometimes because you're waiting for a piece to hit. It's not like a constant piece of sandpaper.
right.
I mean, it works and it does it fine. And then there's also sanding drums you can get for it too. You can get like just a big sanding flat drum. So if you want to use the black wheel to get most of the gunk off, then you could get like a coarse sanding drum, put that on there. Um, Hang on a
Okay.
second.
Well, I know that in the box it came with 3 different drums, and one was a conditioning, like a metal conditioning type of roller drum, whatever.
Hmm.
So I haven't tried
Well,
those 2 yet.
the one with the Scotch Brite and the sandpaper, that's like when you weld stainless steel up and you want to blend out the weld and make it all nice and smooth and put little lines on it. That's kind of what that's for. I do have a runny nose because I went outside, so you know how that goes. Uh, this is another thing I've got to try on the SCT as well. This is basically the same as the little red wheels that I use on the
Okay.
drill. You buy them at Harbor Freight. It's just a big one that goes on the SCT. It was on my Christmas list, so
Oh,
she got it for me for Christmas. I've got to do one on this, but these work really well on getting like undercoating and that kind of stuff off.
okay.
But the thing that you notice with these, if you push really hard, you're going to heat the thing up and you're going to bend the bristles. So don't push hard. You just kind of let it do its thing, and every so often just turn it around on the tool
Okay.
because you're going to put a curve. You're going to put a curve
Right.
in say
Sure.
that way. Well, you turn it around, you're going to put the curve
Right.
back the other way. So you keep flip flopping it back and forth. You'll extend the life of these kind of things. And same with the ones on a drill. You turn them one way and then turn them around the other way.
Yeah.
You know, but I've got to try this one out. But if it works, it should work as well as like the ones on a drill. The other one's it's just a big monster
Yeah.
one basically. They do sell it in a big cup as well. Yeah, it's like a big old 6 inch and 8 inch cup,
Oh wow.
and
Okay.
those work pretty well for some of the stuff too.
Richard was asking, are you removing the old leaded seams prior to the Dura coat, whatever that stuff's called? They seem to almost have rust under it. So you've
Yeah,
cleaned all the lead out, right?
well, it's got new quarters on it.
Yeah.
The lead was gone a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, somebody else removed the lead before you
No, I
got to
did.
it?
No, I did.
Okay.
Take a torch and
Yeah. That's what I always do.
just melt it out of there.
Yeah. Dave Britton, Barry, are there any concerns with that bed liner near the exhaust? I wonder if heat will be an issue. I don't expect that to be a problem. I mean, that's some pretty tough stuff. I know that. Richard has said bed liners not fail in southern heat. Why would underhood matter? Well, yeah, and I think he's talking about maybe the exhaust underneath where the mufflers and stuff will be on that vehicle. So I know people have been using that stuff for a long time, and I haven't heard any issues as far as it coming loose.
Yeah, it's stuff's pretty durable. It really is, and it's also a two part. It's not in the so it's got a little stuff to help cure it. The stuff that you're using, instead of just
Right.
the old stuff. Remember the Herculiner was basically all we had at one time,
Yeah,
and it wasn't bad for having something to use.
yeah. Okay, so this is somebody's birthday. My name is Tila Mito. I don't know. Happy birthday. Okay. Got that over with. Harvey. Eastwood used a standard caulk gun and a mixing tip. If you stop too long to brush out, the tip solidifies. Two people are better on that job, one to apply and a second to quickly brush if needed.
Yeah, so
That's
it's
a good call.
yeah, so I do I like the stuff that comes with like that. So you don't have to buy a special gun. It just has the like the Sikaflex and stuff like that has a little mixing tip on it.
Yeah, I know that somewhere over here I bought panel bond adhesive for the Camaro project, and of course I haven't used it yet, but I did buy the double barrel gun
Mine's red.
and the 3M panel bond adhesive.
Hmm.
So maybe I should weaponize this, put some lasers on it or something, and make it look dangerous.
Well, I
People
just
would.
I remember when the standard two part epoxy things you buy in the store. You squeeze it out in a little thing, and it puts the two parts. I remember when those mixing tips came out for that. It was like, oh wow, that's cool. It's like, why did I think of that?
Right.
But then you found out they're how much per mixing tip? Oh, never mind. I'll just mix it up by myself.
Yeah. This thing's lost focus again.
It looked a little smoky when you first started, though.
Yeah, well, I'm trying this light that I have up here
Ah, okay.
kind of affects it. Except, this isn't like a real studio or anything. So yeah. So anyway, what did you did that video with the second part putting in that CPP,
Mm-hmm.
and you were talking about the shock not meeting the top of the tower.
Yeah, it's
What's
kind
the
of
answer for that?
well, it's kind of one of those. It's a Lego part thing. It's we make a shock that's this long. We make a shock that's that long. We make one that's this long, and you pick the best components of shocks and springs and things to fit whatever vehicle you're doing. And oh, you want to make a custom length one, then we'll make it for you.
Okay.
But there is a company selling the same kind of coilover set, but they have and I don't have I don't remember what it is offhand, but they actually have a different mount for the top, a totally different mount that works. I mean, I have to dig it up and get pictures of it, but it's a really nicely made one. But they don't sell it separately, but it's something that you can make one.
Okay.
You could make it. It's it's not too big a deal. And there's also, I believe, Um, I believe Hotchkiss actually makes some aftermarket upper shock caps as well. I don't know, but I think there's somebody's got some adjustable height ones too. I think. But again, when you look at those, it's just like, nah, I could fabricate something up if I really wanted to, if I thought it was really an issue to worry about.
Right. Well,
And
I could see somebody offering, I don't know what you want to call the upper shock mount, the bolts on.
hmm
I could see people offering those in different heights just to
hmm
get that shock a little bit
hmm
more up or down, whatever. That's what I had in mind whenever you were showing that.
yeah, and Hotchkiss, I think it is that has one. I think mine's going blank. The other guys in California. Well, most of them are in California, but
Yeah.
somebody will bring up the name here in a minute. I just can't remember them offhand. They there's a few that have some
Total
other.
Control or something like that.
No, it's not Global West.
Global West.
I
There we
think
go.
Global West has one as well. But the other company that sells that they sell some of the same shocks and the coilover, but they have their own upper mount that they make for it. But you have to buy their kit to get that, which I get it, because that's
Yeah.
that's their thing. So you know but
Yeah. That's
it's one of those. It's not a deal killer. It's not. It's more of a I wish it was a little bit longer shock shaft to go in there, but in the end, once it's in the car, it doesn't matter. It works. It'll work fine. You know, it's more of a pet peeve kind of thing.
yeah. Yeah. But I do like that setup. I mean,
hmm
I'm gonna have to look at that a little harder in the future.
and that's not the only one they have. They have a one that's kind of a step up from that as well. That's
Oh,
kind of
okay.
a little more performance oriented type one. Um, and I remember if they have it or one of the other companies actually has one that you could use like the lower control arm, but then use a basically like a full strut type of thing for the rest of it. Kind of like the Australian, I think it's RRS that makes them.
Okay.
It's just a one piece one. Basically, it's a strut that will go all the way down to the lower ball joint. But there's a few of them out there, and you can kind of because essentially that arm is replicating where the stock one would be. You could still use you know, upper solutions to mount down to that would use a stock one.
Okay.
So you can mix and match and do some things like that.
Yeah. I think I like because again I'm not a fan of the strut rod um, that they have on a lower control arm. I just
Yeah.
it just seems like a very generic way
hmm
to make that work. I don't like it. Um,
Yeah.
and well, part of that reasoning is I've talked about this before. At the junkyard, we had that 70. Uh, it was a six-cylinder coupe car that was in the junkyard and it was wrecked.
hmm
And I rebuilt that car. That was the first car I like ever really dug into, and it was hit in the right front. So the fender was mangled. The suspension was ripped up. It was all like, in fact, it had gone back and dented the floor with a tire. That's how far it ripped loose. So when I was, again, I was like 15, and I was trying to understand how that worked, and I took that thing apart, and I actually converted it over to five lug while I was doing it. Put a suspension from a '69 coupe under it, and I get it all in there, and it just never felt right. It just
hmm
had this weird,
Well,
you know,
it when the tire goes up and down, it doesn't go up and down. It
right,
goes on a weird arc.
right,
So you're going on a couple of weird compound angles
right.
there. It's just
Well, that's like my friend
yeah.
Henry who has a drag car, and his big stress is when the cars come off the ground, the tires are looking like this.
hmm
When it comes back down, it squares up again. He
hmm
hates that,
Yeah. So
and
you've got the camber going this way, and it's going
yeah,
doing this at the same time,
right,
and it's yeah. And in a drag car, yeah, when you're coming up or going down, it's going to feel weird. You're going to have some weird oddities, especially if you hit one tire. You don't hit evenly. You could easily have something pull one way or the other just because of the tire's at a weird angle at that point.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's why I like that CPP. At least it has a two mount,
Mm-hmm.
technically two mount lower control arm,
Mm-hmm.
which should rigidify
Mm-hmm.
things a lot more. Should.
Now, the other thing I am going to do to it, because now the kit has the oval holes in it for the adjustment. On there on the subframe that it comes with. Just like they say the later ones do, the later Mustangs. Well, I'm going to go ahead and do that same oval shaped hole in the factory one because there are kits that you can buy and do that on the fives and sixes.
Right.
So basically, I'm just going to copy what's on the the same size oval hole roughly, and put that on the control or the what would you call it? I guess it's a control arm mount on here, but do that same oval hole. I'll have to add a piece or so for the washer, the off-centered
Right.
washer to
Yeah.
work and all that. But I'm going to do the same thing on that, so that way when I do get it on the ground, I get it to be able to align it. Then I can look at it. It's like, okay, well, if something's really out of whack, I've got more movement there. I'm not just stuck with just the front. I've also got the rear of the arms that I can move in and out
Right.
and get more adjustment room if I need it. It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Denny Alvey says street or track makes
Hmm.
a nice front end. And
They have a lot of
then
nice stuff.
Michael says Global West makes a kit like RRS. So, and then Richard, it will also tow in as
Hmm.
suspension fully extends. Bump steer is main thing to worry about.
Hmm. Yeah, and there's I actually found I'll send you a link to them. There's on Amazon are the um, I guess the tie rod ends that you put into the spindles with basically it's just a threaded rod in the spacers and you put a heim joint on the end of
Right.
those things are not that expensive. And I'll send you an Amazon link to it so you can put it on there. So that way you can use that to easily just bump steer on them
Yep.
without spending a fortune to buy some of the kits I look at. It's like, you want how much for that little stud and a heim joint?
Right.
And I found another supplier for the studs. So it's like, oh, it's not a big deal.
Charles, sorry I had to take a call and was away for a minute. 69 parts update. A Dynacord distributor just spoke with me and is taking my order for the last parts. Dynacord quarters are formed correctly. Okay. So we were talking about the transition underneath in the back. Well, let me go grab one. So I can show you. Keep talking, Robert.
I'm going to go ahead and answer Doyle's question here, and that's a yes and a no. Have I done anything on it? Yeah, I've been doing more just filler work. There's because it's in epoxy and working on the rockers and some of the other spots of the filler, just trying to get that done. And I'm slow at doing that. It takes me a while. It's hard for me to feel all the lumps and bumps and stuff. So I may do it 2K prime it, start sanding it out, and so I find out I don't like it, and take it down again and redo it. I don't have a feel for it through my fingers, so it's a little slower for me.
So that's what we were talking about. Have you done anything else with your Mustang? So
Yeah.
and so Charles, we were talking about he says the Dynacorn quarters are formed correctly. So this is where we're talking about this area right here. And I've shown this before on the 65 and 6 on a patch panel. But when I ordered the skins for the 5 and 6, they actually had the correct shape. And these panels these are CJ Classics,
Mm-hmm.
what it says. And apparently CJ Classic claims that these are made by Dynacorn. But if they were, why are they not silver? I don't know. But the thing is, this is not like doesn't
No, it's
dip
it's
in.
obvious that it's just a 90-degree. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see it. It's all flat,
Yeah.
and so even the pieces that are left of the original car have that recess.
Mm-hmm.
So put that over there. So I'm guessing. Now, when Charles says the Dynacorn quarters are
Mm-hmm.
formed correctly, I'm wondering, is it the quarter or do they sell the skin? Does Dynacorn sell a skin piece?
Not a clue.
So I don't know.
Because I know on my quarters, my passenger side was a, uh, I get, oh shoot, they have a warehouse here too. Um,
Are
it'll
you
come
talking
to me
about?
eventually. Golden Legion or
Oh
Legion,
yeah, Golden Legion.
one of those kind of things. It's not
Yeah,
it, but
yeah.
it's one of those. And I picked that up actually locally at a place that sells cars, and they do restores. Some of them used to be a van conversion company,
Okay.
and they were selling a whole bunch of stuff cheap, and I bought it for them. I think I paid $80 for it. That thing just fit like a glove. No complaints. I mean, it just went on, and it has the little dishes, on the bottom and in the back. They're not perfect, but they're there.
Yeah.
At least they're there. The driver's side one I have is everybody said everything said it was a Dynacord. It was just in a normal box, and I ordered that from another, actually a pickup truck, 6772 type pickup truck place, and they ordered it for me, and didn't really have too many issues with that. The thing that amazed me on both quarters when I would take the extension housing, put it on there, extension, uh, driver or the passenger side, the factory extension fit the quarter decently on the original.
Yeah.
On the reproduction quarter, it fit pretty good. It wasn't bad. Now my driver side extension, it fit the original quarter horribly. The original quarter was horrible. I
Yeah.
mean, it wasn't even remotely close. Or huge gaps. Just and it wasn't even close to fitting the original one. But I took the extension and I put it on that aftermarket quarter panel, and it fit like just like a glove. So obviously somebody fixed that part of the quarter
Right.
at the back there.
Yeah.
And I've heard it from a few other people as well that have been doing the same thing. Said, yeah, when they put it on there, it fit. However, other areas are not.
Right.
You fix this, but that got worse.
Yeah. Charles says whole quarters are $500 plus. I'll bet.
Mm.
And Richard says Dyna China. Yeah.
Well, we can't really blame China. It doesn't come from China. Well, China believes it comes from China because it comes from Taiwan.
Oh
All
well.
the sheet metal's coming from Taiwan, but so
Yeah.
I get you technically China. Okay.
Yeah. Technically. Doyle says I'm recovering from a total knee replacement, so my project is on hold till summer. I think old people problems. Yeah.
Mm.
I don't want to do that.
A friend of mine has had both of them done, and one of them twice.
My mom's had 3 knee replacements.
Mm.
No thanks.
No, and yeah, a friend of mine, and he said, when they were doing it, and they said, they got his knee up in the air, and said, when they went to rehab, said, well, one day he's in there, they're pushing that, so all of a sudden it goes, whoop. He said, after that, when it broke all the cartilage or the scar tissue, said when it broke the scar tissue, he said, after that, it's like, no big deal. Said it just felt good, worked good.
Good.
It's just like once that, kind of, worked that back into place, he said, yeah, it wasn't that bad. I don't want to do it though.
Richard says I like how they had the knee recall a couple years ago. Yeah. Well, and not that we're getting off subject too much, but that's fine because I know like lots of people have had knee replacements, and my sister had both of hers replaced, and she's an occupational therapist, and so literally like the stitches weren't even like or whatever weren't even hardly done, and she was already bending it. She's like, okay, I know what I have to do.
Oh yeah,
And
because once they do that, it's, right after surgery, he's like, you're up and walking around.
you got to, yeah, you got to
Yeah,
make that thing
you're
move.
up and moving. Yeah.
Yeah. Dave, if I get a knee replacement, I want a grease fitting on the side. Well, I think you have to get not grease. What's the lard? You have to have a lard fitting, so you can pump lard into it.
But you don't trust the sealed for life, ones.
Hey, some of the stuff they're making is pretty durable.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, speaking of, just because we're just kind of like weaving around this, They have you heard the story on Crisco?
Uh, I'm not sure where you're going right now.
We were talking about lard,
Yeah,
and have you heard where Crisco came from?
not off. I'm not remember this one
The rumor
offhand.
has it that it's a lubricant for German submarines. Is where Crisco was created,
Okay.
and then later on, it became a food product,
Well, and if
a
you ever,
so-called food product.
well, it's like if you ever saw margarine before they put the color in it, because it's gray. It
Yeah.
is gray before they put that yellow coloring in it. If you put tubs of margarine out there without the food coloring, people are like, I'm not putting that gray stuff on my
Well,
food.
you know what's funny about it though, too. I mean, margarine. And let me just say this: if you're eating margarine, stop. Just whatever that is, throw it away. Um, if you ever set a bowl of margarine out like outside, nothing eats it.
No.
Nothing
Oh
eats
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Flies don't come near it. Nothing eats it. They're like, nope.
Well, but the funniest thing about margarine, the country that loves butter the most, makes great butter, France, always complains about margarine. Where did it come from? Came from France.
Oh, okay.
It was invented in France because they didn't have enough butter for the troops, so they had to invent something else. So they came up with margarine and said, "Hey, this is some cheaper stuff for the troops and the people that can't afford butter." And there
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah. Actually, they've now they're blaming that on more on heart disease and everything else is stuff like margarine because it's really
Hmm.
bad for you. Mr. Mike says rust preventative for knees. I think we're talking about the lard. Charles had knee replacement. Doc said I couldn't break it. Just had to suck up the pain and get it moving. No regrets. Well, good.
Hmm.
Richard, I avoid margarine, butter, or nothing. Yes,
Hmm.
that's all I do. I just butter. I'll never eat margarine ever. Jerry says, "Uh oh, she
Of
must be a
course,
margarine fan."
of course, I do like the old, the parquet commercials.
Oh yeah. Well, everything's better with Blue Bonnet on it, right? Rick says, "Thanks, guys. I'll never eat margarine again." Yeah, if you do some research on it, you'll realize that stuff
No,
is probably the worst product, one of the worst products out there.
yeah,
Doyle Crisco makes great lubricant for taping holes. Been using it since the '70s to make, so it makes total sense. Yeah. Simone, late
there
check in.
she
Hi
is.
guys, long time no see. Wow. Okay, so it's got to be like 2 a.m. for Simone over there.
Yeah, and every time I check, sometimes I'll look at the thing. It's like, oh, she's doing a live stream. At a weird for us, it's a weird time.
Right.
For her, it's not, but for us, it's a weird time.
Yeah. Jerry says Robert at Land Lakes that we have margarine.
That's that stuff that's like mostly butter that she likes to get.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Nope. It's got to be straight
Oh,
up butter.
our problem is we don't go through enough butter that it just doesn't last. You know.
Yeah, sure it does. Put it in the fridge where it belongs. It'll last. Simone says almost 1 a.m. Okay. Yeah, it's
Hmm.
it's it's getting starting to get late here. Rick, maybe they should use margarine for undercoating on classics. One in storage to keep the mice away. That's not a bad idea.
It might actually work
It
for
might.
for keeping rust off, and it might work up north. Somebody needs to try that. Just slather the bottom of their car with with Crisco or margarine. Do one side with Crisco and the other
Yeah.
side with margarine, and see
Yeah.
which one holds up better.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I won't eat that stuff. Mr. Mikey, nothing better than a piece of toast slathered with butter than honey roasted peanut butter melting as you eat it. You know what? I'll give you a bell for that. I like that.
Hey Barry, you like honey?
I love honey.
Okay, I know what I'm bringing you back.
All right.
I'm going to bring you back a jar of honey from the islands in Greece,
From Greece.
because that's the
Ooh.
stuff that all the the rosemary and thyme and all those little that stuff that grows on the island everywhere. So that's what the bees are eating is from the the flowers from those. I'll bring you. I will. I'll put that on my list of stuff I got to get, and I'll get you a jar of
Okay.
honey. It is really good stuff.
Well, let me just give a little shout out to the health conscious thing that I do. That's about the only thing that I'm health conscious about. Is every morning I mix up in a glass of hot water
Mm-hmm.
a tablespoon of honey every morning, a tablespoon of organic lemon juice. I add in ginger, powdered ginger.
Mm-hmm.
I add in powdered or red cayenne pepper. I've added red cayenne pepper to
Okay.
my mix, okay, because it helps your blood flow.
Well, and I've heard
Mix that
people
up.
doing a thing like that. It's very similar to that for just for sore throats.
Yeah, I do it every day. Every morning, that's the first thing I drink. Mix it all up. Oh, then I go do my thing. Simone, I have been rather busy with work and getting the Cortina ready for a big car show next week. Okay,
Mhm.
well that's good.
Yeah, I did not go to the car show last weekend. I just couldn't see spending $28 to get in the door after I made the trip out there. It's like,
Yeah,
no,
they don't care about that.
no.
Richard Dykes, you want your classic to reek like sour crap. Yeah. Dave Britton, apparently mint oil placed in your car is the best thing to keep rodents out while in storage. That I've heard that. I've heard mint is a pretty good repellent for a lot of things.
We don't.
Bugs too.
That's one thing. We don't have rodents or snakes to worry about.
Too hot.
We have enough four-leggers that take care of them for us, so
Ah,
they're not a problem here.
that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Okay, now that we're talking about Crisco and butter and all that stuff, now I'm getting
Yeah.
hungry for butter.
Yeah, I'm gonna break a pizza in half and throw half of it in the oven. That's
Why not? Why
yeah.
not?
It's either that or I do some more chicken strips in the little air fryer thing. It's like
Yeah, I need to experiment with the air fryer some more.
chicken strips work great. Come out perfect every time.
Okay.
Follow the directions; they work.
Simone says, Ollie, my cat loves
Hmm.
mint. Well,
Well, mint and catnip are the same family.
oh, really? Richard says, mothballs work to keep out critters, but it will melt carpet. Oh, well, that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. Brian, supposedly margarine
Mhm.
is one molecule away from plastic. I believe
Yeah,
that.
I've always heard that too.
I believe that. Don't eat that stuff. Don't. Just don't. And Richard says it'll melt and I guess melt your nose too. Oh, Jeff. Awesome, man. Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
nice.
Appreciate that. Dave, I could smell someone doing a barbecue the other day and looked south toward Robert.
Well, I did some ribs last week, so you know
Ah,
I got to get some brisket and do some more brisket. So
yeah.
the freezer doesn't have any ready to go in there to warm up. So yeah,
So
that
that,
was a small brisket there too. That was actually one of the smallest I've done. Usually, when I get them, they're about 2 feet long or so.
okay.
I mean, they shrink up when you cook them, but they start off about 2 feet long. They're just
Yeah, I keep those pictures just to torture myself because
well, well, in May you're going to get lots of pictures that are you're going to hate.
well, I know that you're going over to Greece and we're talking about in a couple years taking a cruise over there.
Hmm.
So we'll see how that goes.
And if you do the MSC cruise, which my parents' neighbors have done, she's the wife over there is sort of a travel agent kind of thing, trying to get into it, and it's probably the one you're looking at. And they really enjoyed it, and it stopped at a lot of the good islands, and they had good bit of time everywhere. They really had a good time. The food is wonderful everywhere.
Jerry says, funny how Robert says, me, like to get it. I guess talking about the butter. The blue butter.
Probably. Well, it's like she says, "Oh, I want that one there. That's the butter or the olive oil and salt one is what she likes."
Oh,
Yeah, I don't
yeah.
care.
Simone, margarine is horrible. My parents used to make sandwiches with it when I was a child. Ugh.
Mm.
Yeah, don't eat that. Day we did a Mediterranean cruise a few years ago. A few years back was great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're probably um, we're planning this out a couple years from now, saving up for it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's supposed to be I think
Okay.
Virgin Cruise Lines.
Oh, well, then they get the dates lined up. Do it in like late September, so maybe we can be there when you're there. You know?
Well, it's hard to say. It's gonna. I think it's gonna have to be mid-summer.
Oh, I ain't
Mid
doing that. No,
Midsummer. I think
no.
is well. There's other people involved,
Yeah, I
so
know. It's like July, August, or June, July, August. No, I ain't going. We're not. There's no way we'd go. Just too many people.
well.
Just
There's
too many
another
people.
thing, and this is something that's going to affect the live stream and stuff in a few months. Is we're going to see how this works, but we're doing a group road trip. Um, I think we're doing it. I don't know if it's July. I don't know. But we're going to be traveling up north and then coming back and visiting various sites, Corvette Museum and
Mm-hmm.
some bourbon places or something and
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. But that'll be one of our events. Dave, the thing that I thought was odd was while I was in Italy, I only saw one Ferrari. I saw a 65 four-door Impala in Istanbul.
Well,
Interesting.
tell them to drive it to the airport, and I can see it when I'm there
Yeah.
because we're going through Istanbul to go to Athens. So
There you go.
yeah.
Simone says, "How is the Mustang Barry?" The Mustang is sitting at the moment. I've been working on the Bronco, trying to get the paint work done on it, and so while I had decent weather to spray primer and all that stuff, I was focused on the Bronco itself, and at this point, that's going to be my focus moving forward. I
You
have to get
know,
it ready to paint as soon as I can.
there's this company called Beaver that makes some really neat stuff, and I was looking at their website a while back, and they have these neat little things for paint booths. It'd be kind of cool if they would like give you some of their little heated heaters. The little infrared heaters. If you could
Yeah.
put a few of them in your shop, in your paint shop, like just enough to kick them on, like just to warm up the metal and get everything warmed up. For painting and
Now,
get a little bit. That way
can
you can warm the air up, but then you could quickly warm the metal up with those.
yeah, the issue I run into is I need airflow.
Yeah, but what I mean. But that way you could still have you could that way you're not having to wait to heat everything up. You could kick those on, heat the metal up, and then you could just keep warm air coming in.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I struggle. Like people have seen my videos where I've shot clear coat or something, and it's just this cloud that slowly makes its way out the window. Um, so I have to be,
Hmm.
I have to have airflow.
Yeah.
But
It,
not. So I don't know how the infrared heaters. How risky is that? Are they
well,
meant
I
for?
mean, those are more. It's technically for for curing the paint,
Okay,
obviously. But I'm just saying, use them just in a limited
preheat.
time, just to get the metal up to temperature.
Yeah,
That way you're not, you don't have a one temperature air and then the metal's still cold kind of thing.
yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought. But as long as you've got enough warm air that you can keep feeding,
Well,
the
I'll just put
building
the
with.
kerosene heater in there and let it warm up and then spray while the heater's running, right? Mr. Mikey, looking forward to seeing the floor pan and Mustang coming together. I am too. Doyle, stop by and see me, Barry, on the way to Bowling Green. Love to show you the Cutlass. Well, if I can pull that off, I will. I'm going to be with a group of other people, so I don't know how open they'll be to doing little side excursions, but
Hmm.
we'll see how that goes. Dave Britton, Robert, you have to go to the Grand Bazaar while you're there. Don't get lost.
I'm only there for 3 hours this time.
Oh,
But if Jerry and if we in September go there, if we go through Istanbul on there, the airline has this neat thing where they'll give you 2 free nights at a hotel. So they'll give you, it doesn't cost you anything. So you can stay in Istanbul for 2 nights. You just go down to an office. They take you in a van. They drop you off at your hotel, which is a pretty decent hotel, and you get 2 free nights there. So that's something we might do, if we fly them.
Simone says, sorry, I can't stay so tired. Good night, Barry and Robert. Chat.
Yep.
Glad to hear, Simone.
Anytime.
Let's see. Rick, what is your opinion on those inflatable paint boots? I don't have a set opinion on those because I've never actually been around one or seen. I've seen people use them. I feel like they serve a purpose.
Hmm.
If you don't have a garage or something to paint in, then they're probably fantastic.
Yeah,
Um,
I wouldn't mind one to set up and use, but the problem is, how long have you got to keep that thing up and running while you're doing all of that?
right. And what happens if something fails?
I got a generator, but
No, I mean
even at that,
like it ruptures.
I'm not too worried about that. But
Well,
yeah,
if it collapses onto your vehicle, you're going to be.
but yeah, but still, the thing is, it's just like, well, okay, you've got to be ready to do it right now. So you've got
Yeah.
to set it up, get your car in there. It's got to be ready to go. You've got to spray, do that, and then let it sit for how long are you going to let it sit in the tent before you take it out? I mean,
Right. I mean,
I
I
mean,
get it.
I like the idea. There's just some little things you need to think about,
Sure.
in the way of using it.
Yeah, you have to get the paint cured enough that you're comfortable getting the door open and climbing in and driving
Hmm.
it back outside because it's going to get exposed to
Hmm.
everything. So, yeah, I mean, I'd probably try one, but I just haven't. I'm not going to do it. Maybe somebody gave me one, but even
Yeah.
then, I'd be hesitant. Brian, I bought a whole beef tenderloin the other day, about 5 pounds before trimmed.
Mm.
$190. What?
That's a heck
Oh
of a
my goodness.
tenderloin.
That must have been one of them foreign cows.
One of those Japanese Kobe
Wagyu.
cows. Yeah, Wagyu.
Richard, I have had a very heavy clear cloud in an old shop before. After seeing it, started looking around for ignition sources. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You don't want that to let go. That would be really bad.
Hmm.
Okay, Dave Britton. Problem with the paint booth is what you do with it when you're done with it. So next time you paint, would hate to have a windstorm.
And
Well, that's true too.
and storing it is when one thing. I had a neighbor that his friend had a rental company, and they rented those big inflatable kid things, bounce pit things. And when they deliver those things, you rent them. They come on strapped to a hand truck because it takes 2 men and a boy to move the thing.
Yeah,
They are extremely heavy. And then I'm
yeah,
thinking that tent is a lot bigger than that bounce house is. So it's got to be a heck of a
yeah,
thing all fold, and then you got to fold it up nicely again,
yeah, and
and it
store it
never goes
somewhere.
back the same way.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, my neighbor said, hey, if you get one of those, I'll pay you to use it every so often. It's like, okay, can I work that out to where I can make where it can pay for itself?
Right.
Yeah, but
Terry said, "Hey Robert, is the hotel in a non-quake zone?"
not in that part of the world. Everything
Not,
is. That's
not. Yeah.
just there's too many plates moving around there.
Yep. Yeah. It's getting worse too.
Yeah,
Hey, but at least we're not having all the stuff they're having in California: rain
yeah,
and snow and mudslides and
yeah.
crazy stuff
But at least they can't complain about not having enough water this year.
this year. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I will see you later. I'm gonna
Yeah,
go
we're
get
2 hours in,
some
and
pizza
it's
and
time for me to go get something
see
else to eat.
everybody.
So, thanks, Robert.
See
See
ya.
ya. Okay. Well, it was good. I like having Robert on. It helps keep the conversation flowing, and we get some different input, different answers and ideas, and see what's going on in his shop as well. So I want to thank you all for watching. If you would hit the thumbs up, all that stuff. Keep doing that on the videos as well. Thumbs up and comments. All that helps with the growth of the channel. I think I am somewhere around, I don't even know anymore, 64,000, something like that, people. And I want to see those numbers keep growing, obviously. So I'll put some sort of video together this week. It may just be an update video style video that I do, but keep watching. There's more to come, I guarantee it. So that'll be it for tonight. And until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.